Hello everybody. Thanks to be here with us today for this new MBA club event. This club has been launched 6 months ago, thanks to the initiative of Quentin Ancry. And since then, many things happened. 5 conferences, several workshops, consulting jobs. And now we have the full support of the school. So we would like to say thank you. Thank you to Rhoda Davidson, because with her we make this project a concrete organization. Thank you to EMLYON Forever for your collaboration. And thank you to our dean, Tawhid Chtiwi, because with him we know that we will have the opportunity to empower this club. Still for the same 3 main objectives. First one is to gather executive MBA and international MBA, and also other class and create synergies together. Second, it's to make a link between EMLYON Business School and companies of Région Rhône-Alpes. And the last one, it's to keep on learning from our guests who are ready to share their vision, their mindset, and their experience, and help us to face the future. So to build on that, tonight we are going to discuss digital transformation on media industry. To do so, I would like everybody to welcome Quentin Ancry, our president.
Thank you, Damien, for a great introduction. By the way, for tonight, does it work? Yes? For tonight, if you want to interact with our speaker later during the Q&A session, please take out your mobile from your pocket and log on to slido.com and enter the code P887. We'll select a few questions to interact with Michael Peters. I just want to introduce you in 2 minutes our speaker tonight. Will be short. Some dates: 1927, the first electronic TV, a long time ago, in 54 color TVs, and in 2010, the first 3G TVs out there. We have Thiago here present with us. He's been making news for many, many years, so he's seen that change. And we're seeing that change as well. We've heard rumors about the media. Amazon and other videos on demand, they might be disrupting the TV industry. New market players, such as Netflix, might be soon replacing traditional broadcasters. But hey, everyone is still here. All TV channels are still here. What can we do? We're looking at a media market still growing 5% CAGR a year, expecting to grow even more up until 2024. For the first time this year, digital advertising revenues have overcome revenues from traditional channels. The media market is carried on by technological change that Michael will emphasize a bit later. The value chain is transformed. Broadcasters and content providers will deploy new services thanks to artificial intelligence and data science. Personalized content will come more and more towards you. The goal is what? Is to provide a full custom experience, an omni-channel experience, on your mobile, on your TV, at home, and on the go, on the way to work. To close this, I'd like to point on 3 particular topics. The first one is that studios are producing better content than ever, and we'll see that, localized content, tailored to your needs. The question is how to best deliver them. Digital platforms are becoming major disruptors. The question might be how to collaborate with them. And the last one, Michael mentioned that during the interview with EMLYON Forever, we need to find new business models, soft business models such as limited content access, or hard business models such as subscription only. Question is, what is the best mix to address these new business models? And to answer these questions, Today we have the privilege to welcome Michael Peters, who graduated from EMLYON in 1995 and from Lyon in 1992. 3 years at Arthur Andersen here in Lyon. And then he joined Euronews in 1998. What a great year. We won the World Cup. And also we got a great company leader who moved from finance manager to CFO and then to deputy MD. In 2005, I appointed managing director of the whole company. And in 2011, the chairman of the executive board. Please, everybody, welcome Michael Peters.
We come from many places on the planet. We don't necessarily.
Okay, hi everyone. So I have this as backup. Thank you very much for the very nice introduction. It's always a good thing, to be introduced by people. When you have hard days, then you feel so important. I'll try to do things in a slight different way. I don't know if it's possible because I didn't get about the code or whatever technology to get questions. But as we are not so many, maybe I wanted to introduce a bit and maybe then to go directly to questions. In the middle of the keynote, just to understand what's drives better and what could be of better interest to you guys, of what I could say. So to start with, so the theme of the keynote is about my industry, the media industry. I would say, to make it short. And to use a very scientific term, we are in a kind of big shit now in our industry. We are experiencing the revolution that the music industry experienced like 30 years ago, or the press industry experienced like 20 years ago. So one thing is sure is that the actual business models are not working anymore in the industry, like it was the case for the two other industries I mentioned. We need to reinvent ourselves. Just as simple as that. And all of that is, of course, because of you, as consumers who are consuming now the media and the news in a totally different way. So here I speak about the media industry in a general way, and then when you begin to try to go a little bit deeper and more specialized in what we are doing, then you have I would say many different industries in the media. So you have the music industry, as I said, we just is beginning to find a business model that works quite a bit, even if the margins have nothing to do with the past. But with some hopes, I don't know if you have heard about the fact that the vinyl, je sais pas comment on dit, the discs are coming back, etc., which is much more margin. Then you have the sports sector, which is dominated by rights, contrary to what we are doing in news. So it means that you are quite used to pay to watch sports. I mean, to watch the interesting sports you want to watch. So there is a kind of big protection in terms of value of the business, thanks to these sport rights, who are so expensive for some sports like football, of course. And then you have the movie, the cinema industry, which equally based on a kind of paying model, and even if there are some, a lot of disruptions due to Netflix, having the price down, etc. You are equally, except if you make piracy or whatever, but the habits are to pay. So in all these industries, actually, you pay for the content you consume. And coming back to the press and to, as I say, to the press industry, it was the same. When you are used, when you consume a brand like a newspaper brand, you are used to pay for the content you get, like any kind of newspaper. You have to. The big difference with news, and I'm speaking here about international news organizations, not national news organizations, because it's again something totally different. The big difference with international news organizations like us is that you have never been used, and I think we will never be able, unfortunately, to make you pay to consume us. And then, as you can imagine, it makes the business model a little bit harder. So what is the sheet I mentioned? You know, the sheet is you have a cake, and the cake is historically the TV advertising market, pan-continental or pan-European advertising market, because I will explain you, we are not acting on the national markets, but on the pan-continental markets. This cake is getting smaller and smaller because of the arrival of the digital industry markets and the GAFAs who are taking a big part of this cake. But then, so the cake becomes smaller, and the second problem is that when Euronews has been created, Euronews was, we were like 5, CNN, BBC, us, and I don't remember 2 other news channels, I think LCI in France and another one somewhere else. And now we are 250. And every year, a new country, most of the time, is building, creating and setting up his own news organization. So the cake is going smaller, and we are much more to want to eat this cake. So you can imagine that it's not extremely convenient in terms of revenue generation when you want to generate some revenue. And then on the other side, because a model is based from revenue and cost, of course, on the cost side, we have a small problem is that you want to consume now 2 offers. We were historically proposing you one offer, which is a linear offer, like watching TV, you know, so just watching something on a passive way and something which is just linear and live. And now there is a second offer that appears due to the digital technology, which is a non-linear offer, which is you consume on demand. So no more on a linear way, but you want to consume different pieces on demand and to make your own research, etc. And the problem that you give to us is that you didn't switch totally from one offer to the other. Is that you're very hard with us. That so when, and I'm always saying, and I'm quite making it caricatural, but it's always for the sake of this kind of keynotes. Actually, when nothing happens in the world, you like to consume VODs, video on demand, you know, non-linear consumption. And as soon as a big event happens, then you want live, you want, you know, linear, you want to be on really consuming something, seeing live the pictures. And it means that for us, we cannot say, okay, we switch your resources from one offer to the other. No, we need to develop new resources to make this second offer. Because another problem that comes on the table, you see how bad, you know, my days are, is that we all thought like 5 years ago, and it was so trendy, you know, to go into keynotes like that and to say agility, 180 degree, all platforms, etc. You know, we are delivering content that are everywhere, but this is not true. This is impossible because the user experience is totally different whether you consume this first offer, linear offer, or the second offer. It's a total different user experience. And so we cannot deliver a content in the same way through those 2 kind of offers. It's impossible. You're not waiting for the same. The codes, the nature, the DNA of the way how you consume them is totally different. I think that so this involves for us to invest additional resources and not the same resources to do those 2 offers. So you see a little bit the let's say the circle which is a square, or the square which is a circle, or whatever, which will never be a circle, is that revenue are decreasing, shared by more people, and in the same times costs are increasing because of these 2 offers. So this is the reason why we need to find a new, business model, because all the different organizations like CNN, BBC, all the other ones are like us, and they need to find their own way. Actually, I was just saying something stupid, which is quite often, and you will see I will say a lot of stupid things during this hour. Actually, it's only true for CNN, because I will explain you that all the other organizations are actually totally different from us. And this is where I think it will be good to speak a bit about Euronews first, before to speak about this industry. But I wanted to introduce the topic of this conference. So maybe before to go to the deep of this reflection, a few words about Euronews, and maybe before to start, the best would be to show you a short video about Euronews to give you, the kind of main highlights, main figures, etc. And then I will come back to comment you other things. So if we can play the video.
We come from many places on the planet. We don't necessarily think the same way. All different, but as one. United by this strong belief, diversity is the answer. Because all views matter. We are all views. Our purpose is to help people understand what others think and why. Through sharing the compelling diversity of news. Euronews is not driven by a political agenda. Euronews is not a media giving one single point of view on world affairs. On the contrary, Euronews is empowering people, helping them form their own opinion. This is what Euronews is.
We get the same brief, we talk it over. With journalists from so many different backgrounds, our take on it can be very different.
Et lorsque vous êtes sur Euronews, vous retrouvez cette grande richesse, l'influence des différentes cultures et sensibilités de nos journalistes sur chacun des services linguistiques de notre chaîne. Et cela, c'est l'une des plus grandes forces d'Euronews.
The stories are all around us today and everyone has the story. That's why we choose to go beyond the main line. We look at all the facts and contexts that matter. We send our journalists around the globe and we stay away from the endless talk. This way, we are the storytellers.
Euronews. All views.
So it's better than a speech. I think that's maybe to presented first of all the challenges that we have. So now maybe, and we have not so much time, so maybe I will try to begin to speak about solutions, or let's say, I mean, possibilities, because I even don't know if there are solutions that we could put in place or that we need to do and to act in order to reinvent ourselves, as I was just explaining before. Always saying on that matter that I want to insist on one thing, is that what I'll tell you today is only my opinion, and I think that the only word that we need to have in mind for the time being is humility, because I think that no one really knows the answer. I can tell you, we discuss a lot. I was again discussing this morning with a colleague of CNN, and no one really knows the answer. And so we try to make, I would even say, bets, and this is what we have done with Euronews. It has been you know, a lot of discussions internally, and I think we will know which bets will work or won't work, you know, in probably 3, 4, 5 years time, but not before. So what I will say here is like guesses, and let's say with a lot of humility, what we are trying to do at Euronews. Maybe it will work, maybe it won't. We will see. So I think that's, and you will see, by the way, that I won't speak a lot about technology, actually, because technology, I mean, doesn't really matter at the end of the day. You know, it's this is not what you expect. Technology is just a vehicle. It's just something to help us to deliver something to you. But at the end of the day, you don't care about technology. Technology comes to you, you use it. The only thing that counts is user experience, and the most important thing is the brands. And I think that maybe this is the first start, and the first point I will make is that my belief is that it will all be about brands at the end of the day. I think that there are so many news organizations today, so many brands that, you know, when anything happens in the world today, you go on whatever aggregation platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Insta, whatever, Google, you have hundreds of brands today who are delivering you sometimes the same content. And I think that's the first thing that will make a selection between all of us will be the trust. Will you trust these brands or this brand, or won't you trust this brand? You know, in this area of fake news, of whatever, it's so easy. You can't imagine how easy it is to play with your brains. I think you can even not, I mean, you know, usually I'm saying a lot of stupid things about journalists. I'm very careful today because Thiago is one of them, so I don't want to, usually I always ask if there is a journalist in the attendance. So now I know that Thiago was working with me in Euronews again a few weeks ago, and so I will be careful with what I say, Thiago, promise. But you cannot imagine how the journalist can, how not the journalist, how an organization, a media organization with means and a political agenda can play around you without you understanding it. And this is much more than fake news. I think the real problem in news today is not fake news, because it's so easy, you know. Fake news is really more like soft power to make you think about things in a way you will never even, you know, understand it yourself. Anyway, so I think that the first thing is trust. And the first thing is brands. Before anything else is how do you position your brands to do something. I'm sure that you have learned a lot of things here into the MBA. And one of the things when you're a brand, if you want to exist, is to have a USP, unique selling points. This is the key thing, especially in a market of hyper competition like the market that we are experiencing. So I think that what we try to explain to this video, and what I will try to explain you, is we try to find, and we are trying every day to position ourselves as a brand that sounds something to you, consumers, and that differentiates itself from the others. And in order to do so, you have many ways to do it. You have a lot of marketing ways. I guess some of you are making marketing here. I don't really believe to marketing in these kind of things, because when you speak about the brand and being trustful, the vision of a brand, I think it must come from something real and not just a marketing tool. You know, it must really come from something that you think deeply. So here is my point of view on that and on the Euronews brands. I think that today, and I'm again speaking only about international news media organizations, not national ones. I think that the news media organizations are not playing the role they should play in the society. I think that's, and by the way, they say it themselves, I think that the first goal that they have, and if you look at all of them, or nearly all of them, with maybe a slight exception with BBC World News, but I even don't think that it's an exception. If you look at all of them, from CNN, not speaking about the Al Jazeera, Russia Today, but even France 24, Deutsche Welle, TRT World in Turkey, etc. What is their aim? Their aim is to come and to deliver you one perspective about the world affairs. So they come here, and so their perspective is whether national, like Deutsche Welle, France 24, whether regional, whether cultural, like Al Jazeera. But they are here to say, okay, you know this news, and I will give you my perspective about this news. And I think that, at the contrary, the role, and by the way, this is why Euronews has been created, because Euronews has been created in 1982. 1982 was just after 1991, so most of you are young, but 1991 was the first Gulf War. And for those who were here at the time being, it was the first time that CNN came in Europe and shown, it was the first time ever in Europe that we saw a war being shooted live. Then all the European states became to be extremely scared about this extremely strong soft power that CNN brought to Europe, and they said, okay, we absolutely need to have a counterpart to this American soft power, and that's why we need to create a European voice and a European news organization to counterpart this American voice. So this is exactly why Euronews has been created. It's exactly for a pure political, totally, we can say it in any way, you know, soft power, etc. It's propaganda at the end of the day. Soft power is propaganda. So the point was a political agenda, and so Euronews has been created like a public, let's say not service, because legally speaking we are not, but like a public organization owned by public, other public organizations, public televisions in the case of Euronews, receiving money without generating any commercial revenue to try to deliver a European perspective about the news of the world. By the way, what is a European perspective? I would love to know if anyone here has an idea about what's a European perspective. It's another thing. But the problem is that I have only half an hour now, so I need to shorten my speech. So it's another discussion. So this is exactly what happens. And I think that, at the contrary, and I swear this is a personal belief, I think that, at the contrary, a media organization should be here to help you to better understand news, and should be here to deliver you a lot of different perspectives, as much as we can do it, which is not extremely easy, to help you to make your own opinion. I think that the role of a media is not to impose a perspective to you, but the role of a media is to empower you in the opinion you need to build around things in the globe. Because what happens today is that in our industry, in the news industry, there are more and more news. You are more and more open to everything that happens to the world. It's a global village. And you have less and less time to consume us. So every single story now can be shortcut in 30 seconds, and you can make your opinion about that in 30 seconds. And we all know, in this complexity of the world, that it's not as simple as that. Trump is not, as a phenomenon, is not as simple as that. The Russian phenomenon, the Turkish phenomenon are not as simple as that. The Chinese phenomenon is not as simple as that. So everything must be tried to detailed with much more views. And the luck we have in Euronews is that we had a very, very complex young life, but 20 years life with a lot of, all our parents left us, they abandoned us, it was the public services, they didn't care anymore about us, so I had to find a new mother, a new father, And so the new father I found is you may have heard, is an Egyptian guy, and the new mother I found is the biggest media group in the world, NBC, Comcast, NBC Universal, an American. So my parents now are Egyptians and Americans, which is not incredibly, let's say, easy to understand for a European organization. But this is my story. My story is that I had to find new shareholders, new partners, and this is a little bit the story of Europe today that you may experience. You know, is that everyone is interested in Europe except Europeans. I mean, this is clear. Wherever you go in the world, everyone is cherishing Europe except in Europe. And the only people who wanted to join me in my real European project was non-European people. This is the conclusion of my story. Anyway, so now I have this major shareholder with a multi-billionaire Egyptian guy who has no agenda. And this is my enormous luck, that contrary to all the others, I'm not here to delivering any particular agenda. So this is why we built this strong brand identity, let's say, around these all views. And really, we try every day with the multiculturalism that we have in Euronews. We have more than 40 different nationalities. We are quite close from here. So the multilateralism, the multiculturalism is part of our blood, of our DNA. And thanks to that, we try to deliver to all of you different perspectives about the world. And this is really something strong that we have. And the others cannot do it. Why? Because they are paid to do the other way. You know, I mean, France 24, Russia Today. I mean, it's the same. We will speak about Russia Today or Al Jazeera, but France 24, Deutsche Welle, they are exactly the same. Just that it's more trendy to be French today than Russian. But what is more trendy? And maybe it's the contrary. We don't know. So all these media organizations are making nearly no money. We are only three to make money on the. I'm speaking on the commercial side. It's CNN, BBC, and us. That's it. So all the others, they just received money from the governments, and the only challenge for them is to wake up in the morning. So okay, next year will I get plus 3%, minus 2%, but that's it, and for us, it's not at all the case because we don't receive any subsidy from any government. We have the European Commission as a strong client. We produce content for them, but as any client, we are producing content for, and we don't receive any kind of money from any state. So this is the positioning of Euronews, let's say, in this media universe, and this is what we believe to do. Then, speaking now about the going back to this media industry and the digital industry. So the question is, it was quite interesting to see the introducing slides. The question is how to enter and to assess to this industry. So here we have many different problems that are existing for us like for the others. So the first one, as I mentioned, is TV versus digital, to make it short, so linear versus non-linear. And as I said, we need to continue to deliver both offers, knowing that all the advertisers and all the commercial revenue are getting more and more on the digital side than on the TV side. So why? Because there is a particularity in our industry, the international news industry, that we, historically speaking, on the TV side, we don't sell audience. When you are a national channel, like in France, BFM TV or whatever, you make an audience and you sell to an advertiser your audience. For us, all of us, like international news channel, we are niche channels. Of course, Euronews is not making the same audience than BFM in France, or the same audience than NTV in Germany, or etc. Like CNN, like BBC, like everyone else. But when we aggregate the audience that we have everywhere in the world, we have, as you have seen, we reach 136 million people who are consuming our brand every month, so which is quite big. But especially more, we have a very targeted audience, like very high, rich, beautiful people like you. You are all the audience of Euronews. And the advertisers love this kind of audience because, of course, they can attract this audience. The only problem is that on TV, we can't measure it. There is no data. The new world, we can't measure and we can't profile our audience, because if we would like to do so, we would have to pay in every single market, every single country, we would have to pay for millions of market surveys, which is absolutely impossible and not, there will be no return on investment. So this is the reason why we live in a kind of world of, so we call it brand perception, which is just bullshit. You can replace brand perception. Perception is bullshit, you know, it's the same. So it means that you just sell a brand perception. So you have a perception of the brand. So we make millions with that, I swear, you know. But I mean, at the end of the day, just perception, you know, and someone is buying CNN today just because of perception and because, oh yeah, I need to buy CNN, you know, I'm CEO, I'm intelligent, my family, you know, so I need to buy, you know, it was always the same, you know, a Portuguese guy, the president of the European Commission, Manuel Barroso, you know, the brand perception he had about Euronews is that his mother was watching Euronews every morning since he was young, and she would, you know, so it was his brand perception. So perception is not based on any kind of model you can build, which is totally the contrary with digital. Because with digital, you can measure everything. You can personalize, you can target, you can explain everything. So we move from a universe where we just sold bullshit to a universe where we need to deliver, which is a little bit new for us, and that's why it's a big change of markets. Then there is a second big point, which are the GAFAs. And it's a little bit like in the cinema industry with Netflix, etc. So we are guys who have invested billions since decades into content. Billions. CNN, BBC, us, Al Jazeera, etc. Billions in content. And it costs a lot of money to create a good content. And then you have guys who arrive who just spend millions, well, at the end of the day it's billions, but since a few years, in only one thing is user experience. So they built extremely nice platforms, Google, Facebook, Insta, Twitter, Amazon, all of them, and all what they focus on is user experience, product. And they make their platforms so huge that then we, as content makers, we have no choice than being present on these platforms. The only problem is that they don't share a lot. And even when they share, what we call the CPMs, so you have every day you need to learn a new word. So if there is only one word you can learn is CPM. You know what is CPM? Yeah, cost per thousand. So actually it's fun because it's coût pour mille. It's CPM. It's the only, I guess, French expression in all the world that you have been in English. So coût pour mille, cost per thousand. So that when you buy advertising somewhere, you pay for thousands. No, not you. They pay for thousands of you. So we sell you. We sell you by thousands. So this is the reality. Sorry. And depending about the platform, you will see that your value has a total different price. So when you go on YouTube, guess how much do you cost? So for 1,000, do you have an idea about how much cost 1,000 people to reach on Facebook, on YouTube, to a brand? 20 cents. 20 cents for 1,000 of you. And these 20 cents, then we share with YouTube. And YouTube take the biggest part. So we have so it depends if you are a small partner or a big partner. So we are a big partner of YouTube. So we are extremely happy to share, well, I cannot say, but to share a big part. But the problem is that sharing a big part, like half, which I didn't say, of 20 cents, at the end of the day, doesn't make you extremely rich, as you can imagine. The problem is that you will say, okay, but it doesn't make Facebook extremely rich. Yes, but Facebook is doing that with millions like us. So the millions of 20 cents per thousands shared by blah, 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 etc., make them rich. So this is a problem. And this is a huge problem because when we sell, for example, our own digital property, Euronews.com, the price per thousand is, instead of 20 cents, can be up to 20 euro. So you see there is a difference of 100? Yeah, 100 between them and us. So this is the huge problem we all have. To go into this second section about aggregators, is that we don't know how to do, and this is where, very seriously, I don't know what the answer is. Because we need to be there. How can we say? We say, okay, I just get out of YouTube, Google, Facebook, Insta. I just get out. I don't want to. I want to keep my content for myself. Then I will really keep my content for myself. So then we are not intelligent enough. So then we should do. You know what we should do? We should do exactly what the movie industry has done with Netflix. I mean, we should say, okay, we just all of us we get out. But I mean, we are so friends with CNN, BBC, etc. The first, we all get out, and then when we get out, and they say, no, we stay, and then so there is no solidarity on that. And for the timing, they are so strong that no one of us, is courageous enough to say, okay, maybe we should do that. We should create our own platform of news, and all of us, and getting out of all these platforms. Maybe this is what we should do. But for the timing, each time I speak to everyone, oh yes, let's do it, let's have a call next week. Okay, no call. So this is one real problem. So then you have hundreds of people will come and tell you, this is the solution, this is the solution. I swear there is no solution for the timing. So one beginning of solution is to say, okay, let's use them as a kind of window shop. So we say, okay, we put the nice content, so we create specific content, which is very nice to attract you. And once we have attract you, once you have consumed your news, then you say, hey, come on our own property, and we get you on our own property. The problem with that is that the money and the time you spend to make this fantastic window shop, costs you more money than doing your own content. So you do it, you're very happy, and then people come and they say, and what the shit you have? Because you made everything to on the window shop, So you have a fantastic window shop with a nice bag, and then you go inside the shop and you have not enough resources because you have put all your resources to make this window shop. So this is, again, a little bit complex. So really, honestly, I don't know. The question about, and this is where I told you that we are still thinking about that, and this is exactly, what happened with the music industry before they arrived to this system of streaming, where they built streaming platforms, and when people, are consuming. Maybe at the end of the day, this is what will happen, for news. Maybe you will ask you to pay like €9, exactly like music, per month to use news, and then we will share. All of us, your €9, depending about how. Maybe this is what will happen in 2 years' time. I don't know exactly. Again, the only problem for the timing is that you have always been used to pay for music or film, but not for news. So this is really the problem. So then there are new things that are coming on the table, like The Guardian. The Guardian is experiencing something so strong, and which is totally crazy, by the way. So they are. I don't know the English term actually. It's like, they call it like contribution. So I don't know if you have seen that. So when you go on The Guardian, they just make a very nice pop-up on you and say, look guys, we are journalists, we are poor journalists, we are so independent, we need you, please give us our money. Give us your money. And so give us €1, half a cent, €2, €5, and it works incredibly well. So they make a lot of money with that, just because of, like Wikipedia, by the way, just because of people contributing for €0.50 or €1 or €2, depending about what they want to do, to build a kind of independent journalism platform. We could do it because Euronews has a strong DNA with Europe, and for the European lovers, etc. We could try to get these kind of things. So this is the different things we need to try, but again, all of that comes to the same point. We don't know for the time being, and we have to be extremely inventive to do so. So then about the last part, and then I will take the questions or whatever, is about how to deliver content and what makes sense to you and doesn't make sense to you. So on that, you have equally a lot of theories, and I could use a lot of extremely technical terms and so boring that you will just say, oh wow, he's so intelligent. But actually, I won't do that. I will, as my way, doing it in a very simple way. I think that's the way how an organization like us should produce content, and the user experience that should be adapted to this content to you depends about, in my opinion, two things. Very scientific. The first one is the time of the day. And the second one, because I really believe to that, and the second one is your physical position when you consume the news. And this is maybe the priority number one for me, is that you don't consume the content, in my case the news, in the same way, depending about your physical, enfin je sais pas si on dit comme ça, physical position. When you are standing up in a tube or in a metro with a oh, sorry, because usually I always say three things, and the last thing is the distance between your eyes and the screen. Sorry, because if not, you cannot understand everything. So when you are in a bus, you are standing up, you have a small distance between your eyes and a small screen. Then what you will never consume, you will never watch a full movie, or except crazy of you who are watching movies, but like that. But to go in my sense, you should say no, and you should say, yes, you're right. We just consume short formats, so you consume short formats. You are very, very passive. You want short videos, something short, and something where you are not acting at all. When, at the contrary, you are sitting in a chair with a screen which is a little bit far from your eyes, and bigger screen, like a computer, here you have a position to do something much more active. You want to make your own researches. You want to be much more active and much less passive to what you consume. And last example, when you are like I'm doing, I'm sure you don't do, like lying on your sofa, in the evening, and you have even more distance with a bigger screen. In that position, you will consume much longer formats, documentaries, whatever. And this time, you want to be extremely passive, except if you want to have the second screen, making your FaceTime or your Instagram or whatever. In the meantime, you are watching it. So, and this is exactly what we need to do, is that we need to adapt. And this is where you see I don't speak about technology, because technology is just a way of delivering that. But at the end of the day, we need to adapt our content to these three kinds of user experience that you want to have. And I can tell it's totally different to produce the content in one way than the other, and then in the third case. And this is, again, what makes our job very difficult. Because it's not that we don't know how to do it. It's just that we need to invest resources to do it. So this is, in my opinion, because the time is running, this is, in my opinion, the three pillars about this digital transformation and how Euronews tries to get in that. But as I said, I would love to, because sometimes I can speak during 3 hours about totally boring things. And so at least if I have questions, I'm sure that I will say something that will interest at least one of you, which is the fantastic purpose of the Q&A. No, but it's, no, we don't care. We don't care.
I think we have a first question in the front row. It was a good question I saw on the application. So slido.com and code is P887.
Yes, I had a question. You say that you, in Euronews, you would like to represent lots of different perspectives. Are there any perspectives which you wouldn't represent on your news channel? Are there any perspectives which would get kind of less airtime than perhaps others?
Yeah, the answer is yes. But then the question is extremely important to me, because this is a kind of fight I even have internally. The question is, where is the limit? So, for example, when there is a Daesh terrorist attack, I'm not sure it's good to have the point of view of Daesh. Even if extremely seriously, why not? I mean, when they do something, they explain why they do it. And as we are not here to take part, so why not should we show it? By the way, we show it, they have their propaganda videos that are shown regularly on news channels like us. Then, but of course, going that way, I mean, the pure extremist perspective should not have their voice on a channel like us. Then all the others should be here, and I think that this is the most difficult thing, and I think that even ourselves, it's so hard to do it. I will just give you an example. So we made this marriage and this deal with NBC, and so I don't know if you know a bit about the US market or whatever, and so NBC they just hired a girl that has been fired since. They hired her like 50 million. It was the girl, I even don't remember her name, my God. Tu sais, Thiago, she was the big star on Fox, and she has been, like the big star on Fox, and then NBC, made her come, and they paid like 50 million to make her come for 6 months. Exactly. And then after I should know it, but yeah, thank you very much. And after 6 months, fired. I know the guy who recruited her, by the way, who is still here. So she just arrived at NBC, and NBC said, "Oh, why, guys? We are doing something great with her. It's the first thing. We need to do a coverage together, etc." So the first thing was, it was a summit in St. Petersburg, so there is an annual summit there, so Putin was the President Putin was introducing the summit in a big, like 10,000 people, conference room. And he had two guests. It was the Indian Prime Minister and whatever, I don't know who else. And Megyn was the American girl, was coming on the stage and interviewing Putin in front of the 10,000 Russian guys, like Rocky IV, exactly the same, you have seen Rocky IV, maybe not, we're not born. So Rocky IV, like Rocky, in Russia, and Megyn Kelly was so hard with the president. It was so fun. It was really fun. You should watch at it. It was really fun. She was trying to be hard with and everyone in all the Russian guy, boo, like that. It was so fun. And so she did it, and so we reported it live on Euronews, and then we said, okay, now we need to, because it was the beginning of all views, etc. So we need to make a big analysis about all what happened. So we had people in the studios, we had, and then we had correspondents everywhere in the world, and we were making something together, a partnership with NBC. So we had all the correspondents of NBC being there in St. Petersburg, in New York, everywhere. And I remember, we had in the studio in Lyon, we had two journalists doing it. One specialized in hard news, and one specialized in business, because it was a business forum. And for the sake of the history, Sasha, she's a Ukrainian, so you will see why. And so we made the thing. So Sasha, the Ukrainian girl, was coordinating everything, and we had the senior correspondent of NBC, American guy in St. Petersburg, American guy in New York, American guy in Brazil, everything. And so we just did it. It was just crazy. At the end, everyone was hugging and etc. And I was not happy. And everyone was looking at me. I said, "Look, what happened? We did something fantastic." And I said, "Guys, I'm sorry. We were not all views. We have given the point of view of hundreds of Americans in the world, of people from NBC, Europeans, etc. Where is the Russian point of view? I mean, this is so caricatural. I mean, we can't do that. I mean, I'm absolutely, and I was furious. I can tell you, it was my first time with them. I was absolutely furious. I said, look, guys, we should have taken the point of view of a Russian journalist from the national Russian television, explaining how he thought that Putin was good. And actually, Putin was extraordinarily good, in my own opinion, if you want, much better than Megyn Kelly. And just to show you this example, to show you that even with, and we didn't do it especially because we didn't want to give the voice to the, but even ourselves, when we put in place things, a natural way is to go to one perspective. It's extremely hard to go to every. So we need even to work with ourselves, and we need to stay humble because of that. But I think that yes, it's all possible perspectives. I really think so. We did an event in 30 seconds in London about Brexit, and it was so important for us to have all the kind of. So it's quite easy on Brexit actually. It's quite easy. We did an event 3 weeks ago in Paris about populism in Europe. So the first person I invited is Marine Le Pen, of course. And then we invited other people, which I will not mention their name, a former president of France, etc. They all refused to come if Marine Le Pen was here. They refused. So I couldn't have Marine Le Pen. So just to tell you that it's hard to be able to have all perspectives. It's something nice. It's a nice marketing concept. But I agree with you. It's not always easy.
Great, thank you. So great example as well. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
We have a second question from Erwin, the VP HR at Biomérieux.
And then we have oh cool. and then we have real questions or.
Okay, so my question is, We've seen a lot of the challenges linked to generating revenue in this digital transformation context. And I was wondering, have you ever thought of leveraging on the digital transformation to optimize your costs and using some business models that we can see typically like Waze, where people contribute, Lyon with the scooter, we have other examples like this, like Google Maps. So that would potentially transform the job of a journalist that would not be to be spread everywhere and potentially with high costs, but be leveraging on people over the world that would actually be contributing, and depending on if the information is matched, could be analyzed by AI at some point to see if it's relevant or not. And then the journalist's job is more to check the information, the consistency, etc. So have you ever thought of that kind of use of the digital transformation based on collaboration?
So there are two parts in your question. The AI, which I didn't speak about, I don't know if I will have the time to speak about, because I could say things about it, especially since Thiago is no more a journalist, so now I can, I mean, for the time being, I can speak about AI with journalism, because it's quite a kind of thing which is, the journalist doesn't really like AI. But just to answer to your question, I mean, you said it at the end of the, I mean, you made the question and the answer. Yes, it's the case already. I mean, we are like Waze. We are using contribution for the consumers all the time. I mean, now when it's not that we thought, is that we do it now. When something happened in the world, we pay millions to Reuters, Associated Press, AFP, all these kind of video agencies. But the first pictures, the first elements we got now, in 99.9% of the case, it's contribution from people. This is what we have. And so if you want to be first on news, you can't wait for Reuters. You need to do it with the people. So this is exactly what we do. That our industry now is turning to, each time that something is happening, using all these contents, like Waze, like whatever, which is generated by the people. And this is what we do. So then the question, as you say, is how to use it to remain credible, and by the way, to exist. Because if it's just to use it and to deliver it to everyone, we become then back an aggregation organism and no more a content-making organization. So we set up something new in Euronews, which I have to say, it's not my idea, so I can say it's totally brilliant because it's not coming from me. It's NBC who brought that. We have a new thing which is called the Cube. Which is a cube in the middle of the newsroom, and it's a newsroom in the newsroom. So we have invested, we have 15 journalists working on this small thing, and the 2/3 of them are coming from Storyful. I don't know if you know Storyful, if you have ever heard. Storyful is the first organization in the world that has been created by journalists, by the way, of fact-checking. So they checked facts, and they have extremely complex systems of that they are able to check the fact. And so we have hired a lot of people from them, and so you have a cellule, a crisis group, let's say, of a fact-checker who is debunking, who is trying to understand. You know, you have so many ways now. I've been told by Emmanuel, you know, when something happens, the first thing they do now is to go on Snap. Why Snap? Because Snap is much more debunkable or fact-checking than the others, because you have a system. No one uses Snapchat here because we are old and you know, and brilliant and rich. But and you have a system where you can realize, you know, when you make a photo, it's going on a map, and the system of identifying the photo is 100% sure, contrary to Insta. Or where you can put the place you want. So that's why we are using, for example, Snap, and with identifying the picture to be sure that, etc. So there are so many things now are existing, and this is something we are investing in order to be sure. And so what we do now is that we have a TV studio in the middle of the newsroom of Euronews, and what we do is that when we have something breaking news happening, we have we call the steady camera. So it's a guy who has a camera on him, and we turn into this small cube in the newsroom, and then we have a system with a screen, and they can play with the screen with their own iPhones, and they are debunking, and so we give the floor, I would say, to those journalists. So now when there is a breaking news, digital is first. I mean, these kind of things are first. So yes, we do it all the time. We are obliged to do it. And we have even every day a rubric which is debunking, where we try to take a declaration or something that has been said by anyone, and we try to debunk. And this is so easy. Have you seen the last thing with Trump? It was so incredible. You know, about the girl, the movie star, the series star, Megan. I don't know the names. Yeah, you have heard about that. You know, he said something bad about her. Sorry. Yeah, she's nasty, and then we show him the thing. He said, no, I didn't say it. But, my guy, you know, he's there, you know. No, I didn't say it. Okay.
Just before Emric, we have a double question. So one from Thiago, and that links up to someone.
Thiago was obliged to do a question,
and he's responsible, highly responsible for this event. So and someone called NA, who's NA?
Anonymous.
Anonymous. So sorry, but you have to put your name. Oh
my God!
Wow, that's really cool. All right, so we'll combine. So Johanna from Macau, she's from a news outlet based in Macau, asked the questions about: do you think that media should have a political standpoint? Like, for example, Fox absolutely supporting Donald Trump, and this links to Thiago's question.
Actually, as a former newsroom responsible, I'm going to ask a question that probably journalists wouldn't like me to ask, but I love it. You, and I appreciate the fact you talked about propaganda and the fact that corporations or media outlets have an agenda. That's quite interesting, because as a journalist we tend to sort of like create this poetic idea of we need to be objective and impartial and all that. Well, my question is, nowadays, do you think that audiences are still expecting media outlets to have a neutral position?
Yeah, no, this is a huge problem. Look at what happens in the US. You know, I mean, CNN, who is in the US. I'm not speaking in Europe. CNN, who is the only media which is supposed to try to be, you know, equilibrate, let's say neutral, has declined in a way. It's an absolute disaster. And Fox and CNBC, which is on the other side, has increased a lot. Look at what happens in France with BFM TV. I mean, the problem the problem is you guys. You make so many problems, you know. No, I think that, seriously, the audience today, look at what happens in any country, you know. I mean, the audience you know, I mean, BFM TV, you know. I don't know do you know BFM TV? Yeah, I don't know one person, I never seen one, but maybe because I'm the boss of Euronews, who say, I like BFM TV. Everyone say, oh, it's shit, BFM TV, I don't like, you know, but everyone is watching BFM TV. And they did, I mean, there is two things. There is the fact to be neutral, and the fact to not to take part, and there is the fact to emphasize the news and to make the show. You know, so let's go on the first thing. I think there is a phenomenon that I call the bubble effect. That comes from the social networks. I think that's one of the problems we have for the timing, which, in my opinion, explains 100% of the fact that we were all wrong on Trump election. All, you know, we know what. I remember. I will never say his name. Stéphane Grobe, our permanent correspondent in Washington, came to Lyon. It was 3 months before the election on Trump. He spent. It was so boring for me. He spent 3 hours for a dinner explaining me how mathematically it was impossible that Trump became president. Just 3 hours, you know. I know, I'm Washington, you know, you take this, oh, wow, you know, I know. And I think that, you know, it has been a huge crisis in the media in the US that no one has been able to get the election up front. So why? Because I think that there is one phenomenon that is brought by the algorithm of all these social networks, is the bubble effect. Look at how all these networks are built. Twitter. So mainly Twitter, because for let's say opinions, it's more Twitter than Instagram. It's not the same opinion. Let's say Instagram is other nature of opinion. So let's say Twitter. The algorithm is built on the fact that you are living in a bubble of opinions which are yours. Your friends are yours. They have the same opinion than you, and they come and they follow you because they have the same. And actually, you live in a world. In your bubble, which is a bubble of, you can see of all the people who follow you, or they are most of the time of the same opinions, culture, DNA, whatever of you. And you never confront this bubble with the other bubble, and so every bubble is confronting itself, and that's why some people are sure that it will happen or whatever. And I think that this is one of the problems, that today the audience is used to these kind of things and like to be maybe reassured, and that's why Fox is such a success in the US, because I mean everyone tried to explain to all these people in the US that Trump is the baddest person on earth, but when they look at Fox, they no, I'm right, you were Trump because he's really good, you know, and maybe it's a kind of confrontation. So I really think that, and I could make 2 hours on that, so I will stop. I really think that yes, the problem is that it's very hard today. It's very, very hard today. To be neutral. I think that in this world of infobesity, in this world of making the show, I think that if you just try to be extremely neutral, like boring, it doesn't work. And that's why I think that the key is, because if we want to be too neutral, which has maybe been the case with Euronews, you know, during the last year, you can be boring. And that's why I strongly think about the fact to give different opinions, because if then you give strong opinions but different, it's even better. So you make the show, but at the end of the day, you remain neutral.
Thank you. Great question, Thiago. And now Emeric from the Executive MBA class.
Okay, you give us some example about what happened in the music area, and also what is going to happen on the movie area. So I have one question, is in your wildest dream, what would be the business model you would like to do if you can take apart all the current constraints you have? So what is your business model you would like to build?
For the news?
Yes. For example, if you have no constraint in your dream, what you will do for Euronews? What will be the Euronews of tomorrow? No constraint.
But even no money constraint, let's say
money, you can do everything.
So I could dream you will give me money.
Yes, you can have all the money you want, all the resources you want, whatever you want. What you will do?
Wow. You know, it's fun because even my shareholders never ask me this question. Don't know why. Motherfucker. Well, yeah, it will cost a lot of money what I will do. A hell of money. I think the first thing I will do is to be able to, when something happens, to propose you to invest a lot into description news, because I believe that most of the time one story is happening one day, and you don't hear about it right on the first day, and then it's trending, and then it becomes bigger and bigger, and so then everything is, all the elements are coming to add and reaction, etc. But some of the, I don't know if you agree with that or not, maybe not really, but some of the time, personally, I lose what is the real story. You know, I lose the real story, you know, because you have so many things around that I lose that. So I will invest strongly into doing something like, hey guys, this is the story trending now, but this is what is all about. And because why it will cost a lot of money? Because it means investigation, not investigation in the end, but spending a lot of money to find it. So this is the first thing. The second thing is that I would really like on every single story to give you all views. This is what I would dream about, you know. Really, I would dream, this is my absolute dream, is to say, okay, take this news and take these 2 or 3 examples. And I'm sure that you will be amazed about how you can make your own opinion about one thing so easily, which you think it's your own way and which can be debunked. One example on that, about myself, a very small example, but it was so incredible to me. It was an example about, it was 4 years ago. It was before the last Olympic Games. So it's a story about swimmers, and it was, are you French? Yeah, ouais, j'avais pas reconnu l'accent. Ouais. Non, justement. Mais enfin, je ne sais pas. Et donc, yes, so it was, you know, we in France, we have like 4 or 5 very beautiful men, you know, Camille Lacour, etc. So very beautiful men who are swimmers and who are very popular in France. And it was the time of the qualifications for the Olympic Games. So, you know, you need to arrive on the first 3 positions to be qualified for the Olympic Games. So it was the last chance. It was an internal thing, and we had the course. And I think it was Camille Lacour, I don't remember who, one of the beautiful guy who made the course, and he finished 4th and not 3rd, and so he was not qualified for the Olympic Games, and it has become to be a big problem. And at that time, it was the case that it was just in the middle of the scandal with Platini and EUFA. Okay, and so the morning I was in my bathroom, like everyone, hearing the radio, and the topic of the story was to say, okay, this guy, which was one of our, let's say, big chance of success, was not qualified, and this is absolutely unfair. Because we can see, and this was the guy on the radio, we can see on the pictures that he arrived before the number 3. We see that he arrived before. So it's a total scandal, etc. And he asked for to review the pictures and to review everything, because he thinks that he was qualified and it's a total scandal, etc. But of course, the federation will never move, etc. And look at everything. What it was at the time. You had, in terms of picture, you had a young, beautiful man, you know, that is like phantasm of half of French woman, some men, and in front of him, you had a kind of old perception about the old federation, like being very close. And it was the time of the scandal with UEFA, and like trying to negotiate all the time and to hide things, etc. And so I heard about that, and the first thing I made in my mind say, I mean, they are totally stupid. Why do they not allow him to show the video if we see it? And let's do it. Why don't they, you know, do anything? These guys are stupid. And the absolute coincidence is that I had a lunch the same day with a big friend of mine, a very old friend, who is now working in the swimming federation. And I came to him and say, look, and so I made my opinion. It was a piece of 20 seconds. And I made my opinion on that. I said, you're stupid. Why, you know, I came like giving lesson. I'm a media guy. You don't understand anything about communication, blah, blah, blah. And then he said, look, can I give you my point of view? And say, yes, of course. And so he gave me this point of view. First thing, he said, look, we have 100 different competitions every weekend in France, in our federation, like in Europe, etc. And as this sport is always playing with half a second or whatever, we have every time claims about watching, etc. If we begin to do it for him, we'll have to do it for everyone, so it's impossible. So I said, not stupid. And then he said, look at me now. I will tell you something. When you are swimming, when you're swimming, you one thing is to look at someone who is first on the end of the swimming pool, but what counts is not being first, is touching the swimming pool. So you can have your head first than the other, but if the other has put his arm first, or faster than you understand my English, vous avez compris, mais your arm, you know, the other can touch before you, even if your head is in front of him. And so this is exactly, so in 5 minutes or 3 minutes, this is just an example to say that even on a simple case like that, I was 100% sure about my perception about this news, about these elements. In just 2 minutes, I would have had any media, and you understand it's a stupid example, we don't care about Camille Lacour on Olympic Games, but it can happen on anything else. You know, on this stupid thing, I was so 100% about myself that if I would have had a media would have given me this explanation, I would say, oh my God, but actually they're right. And I would have changed from 180 degrees my perception. So this is what I would like to do on news, but as you can imagine, it's extremely difficult.
Well, thank you very much. Now I'd like to applaud Michael. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you.
And in order to stay on schedule, we are running 1 minute behind, but we're not bad. I'd like to introduce Maud Moulier with the presence of Michael Peters before he leaves.
So good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Mr. Peters, for this conference and this Q&A. So as you know, it's our last event, and we want to close this event with a special award. So it's my great pleasure today to support with the MBA Club an innovative project from one of our classmates. So the name of this project is RoboVision. It's a solution combining AI and computer vision for blind people, and it will change their way of mobility. So let's see a teaser about this fantastic project.
Moi, je marche beaucoup au feeling. Hein. J'ai vraiment accroché. Je vous dis, j'ai testé des choses. J'en ai testé. Hein. Et moi, quand ça, dès le départ, ça ne plaît pas, je ne suis pas motivé. Voilà, ça se voit tout de suite. Je ne peux pas tricher.
Ouais.
Et là, j'ai été vraiment bluffé, ouais, franchement.
So it's my great pleasure to welcome Paul de Langlade from Kingston Partner to give this award.
Good evening, thank you. First, thank you to the MBA Club for giving me the opportunity to be here tonight on behalf of Kingston Partner. To be short, we are a corporate banking firm specialized in financing and funding tech companies. And ultimately, we believe that the goal of tech is to have a positive impact on everybody's life every day. So that's why I'm really happy to be giving this award tonight to RoboVision. I think you are doing a really good job to help the life of blind people. I wish you good luck for what's coming, and congratulations to Rida and to his team. I'm sure you're going to do amazing stuff, so keep the hard work going.
Now maybe everybody come on stage for the final picture. And